Is this thing working? Yeah, it seems to be working. My bad. My name's Erik Thor, and I work with neo-Jungian typology. And what I want to talk about today is addiction. Actually, I was just outside playing Pokemon Go, and I realized I was starting to think about like how easily we can get addicted to things and how easily we can get into things. And I have actually done a lot of research on this in the past, like what types are the most prone to develop addiction. And I think, found three primary personality traits that I believe are associated with a higher risk of addiction. Any form of addiction, actually. It can be an addiction towards a person or towards like an addiction towards video games or towards sports or towards caffeine or alcohol or towards like daredevil traits or whatever. And I would want to start with saying there are a few personality types that I think are more likely to develop addictions. And the first biggest risk factor is the ISTP and the ISFP. Then it's followed by the INFJ and the INTJ. These four personality types are more common than any other type to develop addictions towards things around them very, very quickly. And other groups that are very common to develop addictions are ESFPs, ESTPs, and ENFJs and ENTJs. Yes, and I will explain why. I want to start with the three personality traits that give rise to this. First of all, introversion. Yes, introversion is a common trait among people who have addictions, and the reason for this is because they tend to be more isolated. They don't have to be more isolated, but they can be, and a weaker support system, a weaker amount of friends, fewer amount of friends means fewer people that can actually help you if you're starting to develop addictions towards something. And there's also the other problem for introverts, and that is because they have fewer outlets for their healthy need for addictions, like the healthy need to get out, to get sunlight, to meet people, to get stimulated, excited, enthusiastic. All introverts can sometimes throughout their life struggle with this, and it can be very difficult. And I want to say there is a second trait that I think is very, very involved with the nature of addiction, and that is the gene called Vol-Vol. Yes, perceiving types can have a somewhat higher risk of addiction. It's not a complete explanation, but because they use people with Val-Val break down dopamine faster, well, they will need more dopamine. They will need a higher amount of it all the time. They will need something to keep up their interest in it. And thirdly, another big personality trait, the biggest one I would say, is people who have a high need for dopamine, thrill seekers, risk takers, anybody who has a need to get a rush, any kind of rush. All these types can seek out video games or daredevil treats or alcohol or caffeine or anything like to boost their thrill, to boost their enthusiasm. And the types most likely to have a need for dopamine, have a need for kicks, are in the first quadrant. They are the INTJs, the ESFPs, the ISFPs, and even the ENTJs. And there is also another quadrant that is very common to have this addiction, and that is the ENFJs and INFJs and the ISTPs and ESTPs. All these types tend to show a higher amount of like a need for stimulation. And this is of course exhibited differently in the different types. INFJs and INTJs of course have a more introverted style of pursuing risks, and they take more time to think about things, and they are more restrained. But the problem can still be there, and actually it can be the fact that ENFJs and ENTJs generally have more healthy ways of dealing with these things. But of course any type can have difficulties with this. And if you are developing addictions to things, well, you need first of all a strong support system, people around you that will actually help you and will actually help make sure you get the positive, healthy ways of expressing yourself and having fun. And I think that is the biggest one, but also like paying attention and reflecting on your habits and finding moderate ways of expressing them. That's all I had to say on the topic. If you have any thoughts, feel free to share them down below. Like, give me a comment or give me a like, or maybe leave me a donation on Patreon, because people who donate to me will always be in my network. I will reach out to you, I will talk to you, and we can discuss all these things and much more in depth detail. Thank you for watching.